Hello everyone and welcome to UnJustified, where we always cover the facts, the truth, the good, the bad, the ugly, unbiased and sometimes very unpopular opinion. I've been asked to actually make this video today. There's several people that's been curious about it. Since I started reading through the polygraph test of Chris, there was a few people mentioned that were the very first people that saw him almost within an hour or less after he had disposed of his family at Cervi 319. I was asked if I had this interview, and this interview was never, as to my knowledge, given out to us on audio, but it is in the discovery, and some of you just don't want to pull out that 1960 page discovery and try to find exactly what you want to see, because when you're reading all that, sometimes it just all jumbles together and you forget some of it, or you just skip through some of it. So I'm actually thinking about going ahead and doing a complete read through of the whole discovery for everyone, because I think it's very important, and you can pick up pieces here and there and little clips of it here and there, but in its entirety there's a lot in there that's really just not been heard or talked about that much, and could be a very interesting. And now that we've really gotten into the case and we know the case a whole lot better, it might not be a bad idea just to do a read through of it, which would obviously take several different videos to get through it all, but I'm thinking we may just do that. And I know there's some other YouTubers out there that has also done a read through of it, but at the same time, sometimes people just prefer to go to the channel they're more comfortable with, and when they read it out, some of them just read it straight through, read it, and they don't actually give their thoughts and opinions through the reading. Well, I couldn't help myself. I would be doing that through it. I may do that, I may not, I don't know. It's just something that I've thought about. But anyway, the person's interview I'm referring to is Melissa Parrish, and she is one of the first ones there. And if you already heard her interview or saw it or whatever, then you just may not be interested in listening to me talk about it, read about it, and if you're not, thanks for coming and watching this far, and you're welcome to go. If not, let's get into this interview. Okay, it pretty much starts out with just Melissa's date of birth and her telephone number, and it says she was interviewed via telephone call, and then she was advised of the identity of the interviewing agent and then the nature of the interview, and so she provided them with this following information. She began employment with Anadarko as an operator in approximately May of 2018. So that's right around the time that all this actually started happening. So we can take from that she knew both Chris and Nicole, because she would have met Nicole, I'm sure, at the office where they always meet at. She said she met Chris towards the end of June 2018, and she is on the same Monday through Friday shift as he is. She generally sees Watts about once a week during the course of her training in the oil field and at the office. She would have known Nicole, in my opinion, because she met everyone else at the office, and Nicole herself said that's where she saw everyone every morning, was in the office. She is aware that Chris is married with kids, and she knew that Chris's wife was recently out of town. Chris talked about his daughters with Parrish on occasion, and his daughters seemed to be his world. She described Watts as a very knowledgeable, hard-working, and easygoing. She never observed him complaining about his family, his home life, or any other matters. And she did observe him to joke around a lot. His nicknames were the Silver Fox, due to his appearance, and the Rain Man, due to his extensive work knowledge. So, see, obviously, Parrish also, you know, she talks to people in the field. She talks around to different people, and she works with all of them. So it sounds like she's maybe an outgoing person. Hey, how you doing? You know, getting to know people kind of thing, getting to know the people she works with. So I'm very curious about Nicole, but I don't think they even asked her about Nicole because at this time, I don't think they were investigating Nicole much farther than asking her questions themselves, which I believe maybe Chris's defense team was. At the same time, we have nothing that they have dug up on anyone, so we don't know. She was not aware of any issues or trouble with Chris's family, and she is not aware of any enemies, concerns, or fears about associates, family members, friends, or any other individuals. She says on Monday, August the 13th, 2018, she was assigned to work at Cervi 319 with Watts and Chad McNeil. Parrish and McNeil arrived at the Anadarko office at approximately 6 a.m. and they left the office at around 7:45 or 8 a.m. So there you go. She was at the office that morning at the exact times that Nicole said in her own interview that she was in there every morning, and that's where she always saw everybody. As a matter of fact, she said that Chris didn't come to the office that morning. Not really odd because he didn't always go to the office, blah, blah, blah. But either way, she knew he wasn't in the office, which tells me that she's claiming she was in there, even though she never clocked in. So it would have been nice to have asked Parrish, hey, did you happen to see Nicole in there? She would have obviously said yes or no. So anyway, moving right along. She says her and McNeil drove to the site together, but in their own work trucks. They stopped along the way at the Bat Cave to try to find some parts for work. They were unable to locate the necessary items, and Parrish believes that she and McNeil arrived at Cervi 319 at approximately 8:28 a.m., but she referred to Ryder to the GPS data on her work truck for an actual timeline. Watts was already at the site when Parrish and McNeil arrived, and she was not sure how long he had been on the site, but he had a shovel and he was digging a small hole near an oil tank. She believes the hole was approximately a foot wide and 6 to 8 inches deep. 8:25 and he was already over there digging a hole, trying to do whatever it was he was supposed to do at this oil battery when they got there. Okay, but when you look at the timeline, Chris not leaving his house until 5:45 a.m., which meant he wouldn't have actually got to the site because he himself said it was a 45-minute drive from his house to the oil field. So when you do that math, that's going to get him actually getting to the oil field at 6:15, around 6:15, 6:20, depending on traffic probably. I'm sure all that data is in the GPS in his truck. That would give him 2 hours, approximately, give or take a few minutes. That'll give him approximately 2 hours to dig Shanann's hole, put her in that sickening shallow grave like he did, go back to the truck, do what he did to each girl individually, and then individually taking them and walking them up a 20-foot ladder. And all the while he's doing that, he's also texting all these people and making phone calls during all this in 2 hours' time. This was Parrish's first time at Cervi 319, so she was not aware of anything strange or unusual at the site. Cervi 319 contains 2 tanks, a pit, and a separator. Watts greeted everyone and explained what was going on with the equipment. Parrish did not notice anything odd about his behavior, and he did not appear tired or different than normal. Okay, he did not appear tired. If you have worked your ass off to that point for 2 hours, not to mention the adrenaline and the anxiety that would go along with doing all that and making all the phone calls and texts, miscellaneous things he was doing. That just, how would he not be dirty? How would he not have sweaty in the middle of August, the hottest part of summer, and he's wearing long sleeves, pants, boots, and he was already digging in another hole, but yet he didn't seem tired. I don't see how that's humanly possible, honestly. Do you? Now, don't get off track with what I'm saying here. I'm not saying Chris didn't do it, and I'm not saying that he didn't have any part of it, because I fully believe he did. I believe he's horrible for what he did. I believe he never needs to get out of prison again. So don't come at me with, oh, you're a Watts fan. No, I'm not. Hell no, I'm not. But I do look at every angle, and I look at every situation, and this could be one of those quote-unquote unpopular opinions here, but I don't see how it's humanly possible he could have pulled this off on his own in 2 hours and then not even look tired or act any sort of different or anything like that. I don't see it. Watts told her that he had went to a Colorado Rockies game on Saturday, August 11th, 2018, and he told her about a walk-off home run. Watts did not describe his seats, who he was with, or any additional details. It was an evening game, and he had hired a babysitter to watch his daughters. Well, obviously, she asked him, how you doing? Do you have a good weekend or something like that? Because I can't really see Watts just going, hey, Melissa, guess what I did this weekend? I just don't see that. So I believe the way that topic even got discussed is she's just an outgoing person, and she tries to talk to everybody and say hi and conjure up some small talk or whatever, and that's what she got out of him. Now, why he threw it in there that he hired a babysitter to watch his daughters and she knew that his wife was out of town and all this, I don't know. Obviously, that had to have been brought in somewhere because she knew it. Chris probably was like, oh, Shanann was out of town for the weekend, so I got a babysitter and went to the Rockies game and whatever. That's what I'm assuming happened. I believe that's probably how all that discussion got started. I believe Melissa's a really nice person, and I believe if they had actually asked her more questions, then she could have told them a lot more that she wouldn't even realize would have been pretty important. A follow-up interview would have been really nice. After some time at Cervi 319, Watts, Parrish, Troy McCoy, and McNeil departed, and they went to a second site. And at some point while at the second site, Watts went to a truck to take a call, and he did not explain the content of the call to Parrish. And pretty sure that was possibly Nicole Atkinson, calling him, hey, what the hell's going on? Where's Shanann? It's probably something like that. Or possibly it was when Nicole called him wanting to know what the lyrics to Battery meant. Don't know if she called him or texted him and asked him that question. I can't remember what he said in his interview. Either way, she got with him and asked him that question. It was at 10:10 a.m. So that would have been about the right timeline for him to be running to his truck to do calls, right? She did observe that the bed of his pickup truck was full of equipment, but she did not observe the interior of the cab. Parrish was provided with Ryder's contact information, and she was asked to call should she recall any additional information. On August the 16th, 2018, Ryder received a follow-up call from Parrish. Parrish never observed Watts's travel directly from his house to the oil field, but she often encountered him at the office in the mornings prior to leaving for sites. She did not recall him sending out a message via the group that he was at Cervi 319, and she believes he usually does send a message to the group when he's in the field. So see, he didn't send out anything saying he was at the field that morning, and that's possibly why Nicole said, prove to me that you're there. Who knows, but He didn't even send that in. He didn't go to the office that morning. All this stuff was out of character for him. Everybody said it was. McCoy had told her Watts had a new pair of boots that he had been wearing, and Parrish had not seen this new pair of boots. On Monday, August the 13th, 2018, Watts was wearing an older pair of boots with his pants tucked in. Parrish had observed that Watts normally wears his pants over his boots, and she asked Watts about this, and he replied that he was worried about snakes and legless lizards. Parrish did not believe Watts was sweaty or complaining about the heat. Watts was sociable Monday, and he spoke about the Rockies game, and he joked with McCoy. During the course of repairing the equipment, Watts released the pressure release valve, which caused some oil to spit out. Parrish had observed Watts to be meticulous with the cleanliness, but on this occasion, he did not clean up the spill. So it's like he didn't give a damn if they came and seen it nasty or not and dirty, when normally he would want everything to look really nice. Like if his boss or somebody else came out there to inspect his work, he wanted his work to look top notch. But this morning, he didn't care. He didn't even try to clean it up. He just left it dirty. She says that her and McNeil departed to a second site, and Watts was still at Cervi 319. Later in the day, Parrish went back to Cervi 319 to evaluate the equipment, as repairs had not been fully completed. Again, totally out of his character, because they say that he knows exactly what he's doing. He's extremely smart on fixing these kind of repairs, but he didn't fully complete it. Why? Because he had to go home. And also because obviously he didn't give a damn. He left and went to a second site, so he wasn't worried about that site at all. She noticed that the PR valve had not been wiped down, which she thought was unusual given Watts to clean messes and spills. So see, he was like a clean freak, so when he just leaves a mess like that, that is completely out of the ordinary for him. Parrish wanted Ryder to be aware that she and McNeil had returned to Cervi 319 again on Tuesday, August the 14th, 2018 at approximately 7:30 or 8 a.m. So that's the end of the interview, but I wish they would have had a second follow-up interview with her, because even though this was a short interview, she did have a lot to say. I mean, even though she probably doesn't think she did, she really did. In my opinion, with her saying, well, I was at the office, and he wasn't there. Well, Nicole had already told us he wasn't there that morning. I don't know if Nicole would get that same message they're talking about, the via group, when people is getting to their site, but I would think she would. And the reason I think she probably would is because, as we saw, she's the one that sent the emails and such out to the oil field workers about certain things that needed to be done and such as that, and we know she was over safety. So I think she would have gotten that too, and I'm not 100% certain. I'm not going to say that, but it seems that she would, right? Because she did email all the workers. I mean, she would do like one email, we saw that, and she would contact like all of them and say, hey, and she would let them know something about fields or certain sites or whatever. So I believe she probably did. I think part of her job may have been to know where each of those workers were and what site they were on and such as that. And so maybe that's why she was like, prove to me you're there. Prove to me you're still there, or something like that. Who knows? Who in the hell knows? But all we have got to go on is speculation, right? Because if there wasn't so many inconsistencies and lies to this case, then, maybe we could kind of lean another direction, but there is. It's just too much, and we've seen the lies, we've seen the inconsistencies. That's not even to mention looking up the lyrics to Battery. And then Chris was wearing these old boots, and I know that A lot of people puts a lot of emphasis on that, and I think there's good reason to put a lot of emphasis on that. Why didn't he wear his new boots that day? I mean, hell, he must have been proud of them. He was even taking pictures of them, Troy said, and sending them, look at my new boots. And why would he wear his old ones? And why would he stick his pants down in them? He says it was because of legless lizards and snakes. Okay, why just that day, right? She thought it was unusual that he was wearing them that way. So obviously he didn't do that all the time because of legless lizards and snakes. So what, in Colorado at these oil sites, that legless lizards and snakes only come out on Mondays or on that day of the year? I mean, really? He would have done that every day, but he didn't. When he was dressed, I mean, obviously not for summer. He has to wear these long sleeve shirts, these fire resistant clothing, pretty much dressed like you're dressed for fall. But then he wasn't even sweating. He wasn't even tired. He wasn't even dirty. He was just kind of slouchy looking. I think he had every intention of just throwing those clothes away and putting on the clothes that he actually showed up at his house wearing. But when they got there, he was still wearing the stuff that he left his house with, that he planned to ditch. He hit a dumpster on the way home and threw stuff away in it. So there again is speculation, but that's all we got to go on. All right, you guys have a good one. This is Unjustified.